Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So as Radha Prabhu showed us, he is at Jagannath Puri, and actually in India today is Gundicha Marjan Day. Tomorrow is Rath Yatra. So 13th is Gundicha Marjan. Gundicha Marjan is a day before Rath Yatra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took all his devotees, all his associates to Gundicha temple, where Jagannath is going to come and stay for 9 days. And he said, because Lord is coming and the temple hasn't been cleansed for the whole year, so he took his associates and took all the pots and brooms from the king to cleanse the whole temple. So first he used a broom to clean the dust, the rocks and whatever the wood pieces were there. And then he used a broom to clean the finer dust. And then he used his own cloth to clean even the finer dust. And then he asked all his disciples to line up and get water from Indradumna Sarovar. And then he started cleansing the whole temple. So starting from the roof to the walls, to the floor, to the Ratna Singhasana of Lord Jagannath. So he, along with his associates, they cleansed the whole temple. And after cleansing the temple, they all went to Indradumna Sarovar, and then they had water pastime. They played in water, and then they had lots of fun. And afterward, they came to a garden where they had lots of prasadam. Maharaj Prataprudra had arranged the prasadam for them. And this was the whole ceremony, whole festival of Gundicha temple was performed. So the idea behind cleansing the temple was, if we clean the temple like that nicely, our heart gets cleansed of all the anarthas, of all the unwanted desires. So today, if you get a chance, if you can go to ISKCON temple, great. Otherwise, go to any temple and clean the temple. If not that possible, then at least clean the house and the temple in the house. Clean it nicely. So this is actually the idea is, when we clean the temple, clean the house of the Lord, our heart gets cleansed. Just like for the pujaris, when they dress the deities, when they decorate the deities, their heart, their soul gets cleansed, their soul gets decorated. So that is the idea, because Krishna is he is the ultimate. So when we do anything to him, we get in return many fold whatever we need. So if you can do that today, it will be great. It will be a great day to do that. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto, 10th chapter, departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Text number 28. Nunam vritsnanu hata dineshvara samarchito hyasya grihit panibhi pibantiya sakya dhara amritam muhur rajastriya samamuhur yada shayaha. O friends, just think of his wives, whose hands he has accepted. How they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe, to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing, The damsels of Rajbhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. Now, this is a natural tendency of ladies if they, because now they are thinking of all the ladies that Krishna has married and how he must have relished them, their company. Religious rites prescribed in the scriptures are meant to purify the mundane qualities of conditioned souls, to enable them to be gradually promoted to the stage of rendering transcendental service unto the Supreme Lord. So the religious rites prescribed in the scriptures are meant to purify the mundane qualities, not to enhance the mundane qualities. Enhancing means if we do the religious rites and the rituals, and if we want to increase our entanglement in the material world, that is not the purpose of the rites, the purpose of the rituals. Purpose is to purify us, purify our mundane qualities. So this is what these ladies of Hastinapur are talking about, these wives of Krishna, what kind of tapasyas, what kind of ritual they must have performed to get Krishna as their husband. Attainment of this stage of pure spiritual life is the highest perfection, and this stage is called Swarupa, or the factual identity of the living being. Liberation means renovation of this stage of Swarupa. In that perfect stage of Swarupa, the living being is established in 5 phases of loving service, one of which is a stage of Madhurya Rasa, or the humor of conjugal love. So in Swarupa, in our original constitutional position, so Prabhupada is saying that is the attainment of that stage is the perfection of life. And everybody's Swarupa is different. We cannot say that your Swarupa is what mine is. No, we don't know. But so there are 5 phases of loving service: Shant, Dasya, Sakhya, Madhurya, Shant, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And of all these, the highest stage is Madhurya Ras. So Lord is always perfect in himself, and thus he has no hankering for himself. He, however, becomes a master, a friend, a son, or a husband to fulfill the intense love of the devotee concerned. So this is the position of Krishna. He wants to fulfill the desires of his devotees. He is on his own. He is Atmaram. He is completely satisfied in himself. But he wants to satisfy the devotees. So in satisfying the devotees, so the 5 major rasas, and in 5th rasa, the conjugal love, there are 2 distinctions, 2 classes. One is Swakiya and the other is Parakiya. Swakiya means one's own wives. So Krishna's own wives, which are in Dwarka. But the damsels of Vraja were young friends of the Lord while he was unmarried. So that relationship is in the Parakiya mood. See, there's a difference between mood and the real relationship or the real thing. So the mood in Vrindavan is of Parakiya. Okay, we have to understand that. What is it? Swakiya, as I said, these queens of Dwarka who were married, duly married, formally married to Krishna. So Parakiya means he was having this mood of Parakiya, means mood of conjugal relationship with somebody else's wives. And that is considered the highest mood in Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. It could be the lowest in the material world, but it's the highest in spiritual world. Now again, when I say the mood was of Parakiya Ras, why the mood? Why we are talking about the mood? When we think, we know that Krishna was doing Ras Leela with other people's wives. These gopis were married to somebody else. But actually, no. All these gopis were actually married to Krishna only. But Krishna wanted to taste that mood of Parkiyaras. So he created a situation in which apparently these girls were married to somebody else. So what had happened, if you all know this pastime when Brahmaji got bewildered. So once Brahmaji, and I believe this happened after Govardhan Leela. So Govardhan Leela, Indra got convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. So Brahmaji heard, Brahmaji saw everything. But afterwards, one day he saw Krishna was having lunch with his cowherd boyfriends. And while having lunch, now Krishna is having so much intimate relationship with all these cowherd boys that he doesn't mind eating the remnants of his friends. So his friends, they were like eating their own lunch. Everybody used to bring lunch from their house. So they were eating their own lunch, and lovingly and in friendship way, they would push their lunch, the food in the mouth of Krishna also. And Krishna was also taking the food from sometimes from their mouth, sometimes from their lunch boxes, and he was eating, and they were having lots of fun. Brahmaji saw that, and Brahmaji said, people say he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How come he's the Supreme? Can you imagine Supreme Personality of Godhead doing all these things? Eating from somebody's mouth, and these boys, they're pushing their food in his mouth, and he's pushing his food in these boys' mouth. He cannot be Bhagwan himself. So the doubt came in his mind. So at that time, all these cowherd boys, actually they were sitting down banks of Yamuna, but they had let their calves play around. So after a while they saw the cows, and the cows had gone long distance away. They said, oh, they got scared. It will take long time to get them all together. So Krishna told them, no, you don't worry. You just sit here, have lunch, and I'll go look for the cows. And Krishna was going with some food, with some rice in his left hand, and he was eating with his, he was just like taking some rice from his right hand and eating. So this again bewildered Brahmaji more, because normally in Vedic, according to Vedic tradition, we don't eat with the left hand. Then here Krishna was holding food in his left hand. So Krishna was going to look for cows. So Brahmaji had actually, Brahmaji had done, he had stolen these calves, not the cows, calves. And he had put them in a cave. So Krishna was looking, and then Brahmaji came to that place where his cowherd boys were having lunch, and he picked all of them up. He made them first unconscious, picked them up, and put them in the same cave. And he closed the mouth of the cave with a big rock. And actually, he wanted to see what Krishna does. So Krishna was looking for calves. He couldn't find. He came back. He didn't find the cowherd boys. So he understood this is Brahmaji's doing. So he wanted to teach Brahmaji a lesson. So he expanded himself as many cowherd boys and as many calves as they were before. In exactly the same shape, same form, same size, same everything. And when he expanded himself like that, and he started going towards Vrindavan. He reached Vrindavan. Every cowherd boy went to their respective houses to meet with the respective parents. They didn't know it was Krishna. They thought it was their own son. But that day, somehow they all felt there is so much love for their sons. They're like overflow of love. And the calves, when they went to meet their mothers, the mothers also loved their calves more than they had ever experienced before. So this one whole year, Krishna lived like that, like those cowherd boys, and every day he would go with those cowherd boys to the forest to graze the cows, to graze those calves, which were again Krishna. And every evening they would come back, and he acted just like those cowherd boys and calves one full year. Actually, what had happened, Brahmaji, out of Yogmaya, he forgot for according to his time, it was like a movement had passed in Brahmaloka, but he forgot that he had kept covered boys and calves like that. So on earth, one full year had passed. So in that year, now in normally villages, like we went to Barsana to get these girls, to attend these girls' wedding. So they were very young girls. Actually, their mother was saying they have become too old, actually. But now it's the right time to get them married. Because in villages still the girls they get them marry off to a right person at very young age. So in that year, Krishna as cowherd boys, he convinced his parents to get him married. To whom? To all the different gopi girls of the village. So parents agreed, and the girls also agreed. Girls' parents also agreed because they also developed this very much attraction to these cowherd boys, who their girls were getting married to. And the gopis also felt so much of attraction for these boys. They couldn't understand it was Krishna only because their ultimate attraction is for Krishna. So Krishna married in the form of cowherd boys. He married all these girls. So after 1 year had passed, then Krishna, Brahmaji understood he had made a mistake because Brahmaji came to the same place at the banks of Yamuna, and Krishna as different cowherd boys, he was having lunch with Krishna. And when Brahmaji went to saw in the cave, the cowherd boys were there, and the calves were there, and here the calves were also there. So he understood Krishna had made a fool of him. So Brahmaji came and he prayed, he begged for forgiveness from Krishna. He prayed to Krishna, please forgive me. And then Krishna, it's a beautiful prayers. He spoke to Krishna and then Krishna forgave him. And then all these cowherd boys, they turned into four-handed Vishnu forms and the calves, and they all merged in the body of that Shyamsundar Krishna. And then Brahmaji released all the cowherd boys and the calves, and they all woke up and they didn't realize 1 year had passed. And they were just thinking, Krishna had just gone to look for cows, or for those calves. And then Krishna came back with the calves, and everybody took their calves and they all came back home. They didn't realize 1 year had passed. And when they all came back home, by Krishna's Yogmaya, they understood they had married these gopis. So actually, all these girls were married to Krishna. So it wasn't that Krishna did anything illegal or anything wrong or anything immoral. Actually, all these girls are married to Krishna. But he wanted to taste that mood of Parkiya. That mood of Parkiya Ras, which is considered highest. Why is it highest? Because when somebody is married to this wife, a girl who is his wife, so when they both meet, there is no, that much attraction is not there when the boy has to meet a girl outside, and there are so many restrictions in meeting that girl, and there's so many people plotting against them to stop them from meeting. So that mood, that ecstasy of overcoming any obstacles in meeting, it makes the union very much relishable. So this is the mood of Parakiya Ras. So this Ras, this mood, he relished in with the girls of Braj. That's what Prabhupada is writing. The queens at Dwarka were Swakiya, or duly married wives, but the damsels of Braj were young friends of the Lord, while he was unmarried, apparently unmarried, but actually he married them. The Lord stayed at Vrindavan until the age of 16, and his family friendly relations with the neighboring girls were in terms of Parakiya. These girls, as well as the queens, underwent severe penances by taking vows, bathing, and offering sacrifices in the fire, as prescribed in the scriptures. The rites, as they are not an end to themselves, nor a fruitive action, culture of knowledge, of perfection, and mystic powers, and in themselves. They're all means to attain to the highest stage of Swarupa, to render constitutional transcendental service to the Lord. So anything, any vow that we take, any tapasya that we do, any dham yatra that we do, it's all basically should be geared towards attaining a swarupa, attaining a constitutional position, and how to render service unto the Lord. Each and every living being has its individual position in one of the above mentioned 5 different kinds of reciprocating means with the Lord. And in one's pure spiritual form of Swarupa, the relation becomes manifest without mundane affinity. So every living being has its individual position, has its particular um, relationship with the Lord. The kissing of the Lord, either by his wives or his young girlfriends who aspire to have the Lord as a fiancé, is not of any mundane, perverted quality. It's not any mundane, material, perverted quality because they both are on the spiritual absolute level. There's nothing material in Krishna, in all the damsels of Raja, in all the gopis or queens of Dwarka, or anything material in their relationship either. In their bodies, there's nothing material, and in the relationship also, there's nothing material. Had such things been mundane, a liberated soul like Shukdev Goswami would not have taken the trouble to relish them, nor would Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have been inclined to participate in those subjects after renouncing worldly life. So, if there was anything mundane, just like today's college going boy and girl, and they have their own relationships, so nobody, no sage like Shukdev Goswami or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take trouble to even talk about this. But of Krishna, they're talking, not just talking, they're relishing and they're telling everybody, you will become pure by listening to these pastimes. Actually, listening to these pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, especially of Raslila pastimes, what it does is it takes away the sex desire in our hearts. It definitely takes away. So that's why these pastimes are very, very pure and purifying, both. So, but at the same time, Prabhupada has cautioned us that in case by reading or listening to these pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, in case it increases the mundane sex desire in our heart, because it can happen because we're not that pure yet. So we should stop reading or hearing about them. We should go back to our more Vedi sadhana bhakti, or at the most, if we want to read some pastimes, read the pastimes of Krishna's Bal Leela, his child of pastimes. So once we are pure enough, once then we become qualified, and then we will really relish those pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. And then we will not even think of in any mundane terms these pastimes. Because otherwise, just like somewhere I read that instead of purifying us, they will putrefy us or make us more contaminated. So one has to be very careful. So that's why Prabhupada was definitely very much against of us going and listening to Bhagavatam from outside people, because their whole aim is to jump to these Gopi Leela pastimes, Ras Leela pastimes, and which even they are not qualified to speak of, and we are not qualified to hear. So we have to be careful. So I'll stop here. Today we had only one verse that we discussed, but that's okay. Anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, in the beginning, you mentioned about the 5 different type of associations that one can have with the Lord. Can you please explain a bit more about what are those and how one acts in those associations and how Lord reciprocates in those situations?
Okay, so out of 5, one is Shantras. So that is a stage of neutrality. Like examples are given like the flute of Krishna or Yamuna ji or the animals or the birds or the trees of Vrindavan. So they are in Shantras. Shantras means, of course, they are qualified, very much qualified to be in the spiritual world, but they do not reciprocate in their loving relationship, in their services towards Krishna, as much as other rasa people can. Then the second is Dasaras, the devotees who are in Dasya mood, servant mood. And the examples are given of Raktak, Chitrak, Patrak. Of course, many other devotees are there. In nectar devotion, these examples are given. I mean, they're the servants of Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba, and especially when Yashoda Maya gives bath to Krishna, and or dresses him up. So these servants, they help her. Then the mood is of friendship, Sakhyaras. So Sakhyaras, there's so many friends of Krishna, like Madhumangal and other friends are there, Stoka Krishna. So they are in friendly mood. So they go around with Krishna, have different pastimes in the forest, grazing the cows, stealing butter, stealing yogurt, other pastimes. They play with Krishna. And then the Vatsalya, obviously, it's for Yashoda Maya, Nanda Baba, Rohini. So these are the devotees who comes in Vatsalyaras, who think they are parents of Krishna. Krishna is their son. And then the Madhuriras, where all the gopis, they come in that ras. Sakhis, or Shrimati Radharani, or other gopis. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Just cleanse the temple. If you have temple in the house, please go ahead and clean it today. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.